First of all, let me thank Sasha and the organizer for the opportunity of giving this presentation today, and also for being flexible, for adjusting the program at the last minute to allow for the participation to the media event. We're all excited by it. So without much ado, I'd like to dive into the ESO phase 3. And also would like to say that I give the presentation on behalf of the Archive Science Group, and the team members in the Data and Management Operation Division are listed in this slide. Okay, what is phase 3 in the nutshell? Phase 3 is the pathway to submit and publish a science-ready data product in the ESO archive. And you find here the URL and a beautiful view of our interactive web interface that allow the browsing and the retrieval of the data product, and display a number of facets for the identification and information on the product. So what are the science policy associated to phase 3? So phase 3 is mandatory for public survey and large program. And for public survey, you may be aware of, for example, the Vista Public Survey. And here is a beautiful view of all the pointings that have been collected on the southern sky since April 2010, when the Vista telescope started operation. So public survey, large program return product, but also everybody is invited to take advantage of it, in premise ESO, and has taken over this channel to actually release science grade product through the data streams. And I come back to this later. One of the building block of phase 3 is the Science Data Product Standard. This is a data interface document and is a reference for all the data provider, not only them, but also pipeline developers, consortia, etc. It defines the data format and the metadata information that are essential for such product to become browsable, queryable, downloadable from the ESO interface. And the concept, why we do that, is because through this interface document, there are the definitions how to encode the level of the calibration of the product, the scientific quality, the errors, it means, the errors, the sensitivity, the accuracy, the provenance, so which are the raw file that went into delivering the science product, and whatever ancillary data that allows or support the exploitation of the science. Having data package following the science data product science standard ensure that these data are integrated into the archive, which in particular for ESO means that they can be queried seamlessly with all the different instruments, all the different sources, all the archive content. I also provide the link to this document, which is published on this web page. What are the requirements apart data format and metadata, or the criteria for a product to be defined as a science data product? Very important is that the instrument signature is removed. They must be calibrated in physical unit. And that's a big change from respect to the archive as it was, which was a technical archive for the raw data, where the raw data can be identified from the technical parameter, while for the science archive, the product are identified by the physical parameters, so in physical unit. They all have error information, and also that the photon provenance is recorded, which is very important. These are the pillars but also a very important key to achieve this result is the phase 3 validation. The phase 3 validation is an audit process that has several stages. It starts with the file-by-file validation that check the integrity, if it's compliant, the compliance with the standard, and also the provenance. But there is also a structural check, which ensures that given that the product, all the pointer to the raw data to previous product are really correctly mapped. And then there is what we call the science validation, which is an holistic view, which also takes into account the release description, which is a very important identity card that supports the scientific exploitation of the data. So what kind of data types are supported by phase 3? You see this is a list. We go from images to source list, flux map, 1D spectra, integral field cubes, visibilities, catalog of physical quantities. But soon this list will be expanded to include areas, gravity, formos, time series, polarimetric data, and all are available in the archive science portal. And in the insert, you see the current data holding of the archive science portal that is more than 3 million products as we on the current date. So to walk you quickly through the concept, through the workflow of the phase 3 process, publishing data product is equivalent of publishing a referee publication. It's about science. So most of us are very acquainted to submitting a referee publication. So you register your submission, you upload your article, you prepare the data, you upload the file, you verify the compliance, you run tech, and then once everything is fine through the release manager, the data are announced through a publication on the ESO archive and announcement on the ESO Science newsletter. Now, I'd like to give you a bit more on the audit process, and with the perspective here that the validation is essential to build trust, which is the foundation for the using of the data. So we have 3 levels. One is a file-by-file verification. Something is obvious, like this should be a FITS file. Also, there is a batch verification that looks at the structure of the file, the dependencies, whether there are ancillary files, and then the content validation, which is performed by a data scientist in the archive science group that carry out all those assessments that cannot perform automatically, and also see the data release also in view of the release description and all necessary documentation. So how do you access phase 3? Through the user portal. All those registered can access phase 3 when they log into the user portal account. There is a part of the menu that enables you to go to the release manager. And there are also a number of extra features that allows the management, like delegation of phase 3 permission, if we're talking about a group, like a public survey or large program. And in this way, the data provider has an overview of what we call his or her data collection and the batches, which are containers in which the data products are uploaded. This is the release manager is an interactive interface that allows a data provider to structure the submission of their product and provide a timely evaluation of the data format through this a cron job that look at the data that are uploaded in the staging area and produce immediately a message stating what kind of formal error there are, so that the data provider can immediately act and modify the product. Not only that, it also, once all the data in the correct format and the batch is then submitted, provide a content summary, which is an immediate view of all the product that has been uploaded by the data provider. Why is this important? For example, think about the Hemisphere survey, or very large survey, like recently we've managed the Gaia ESO data release, something like 200,000 spectra. In this way, with the content summary, the data provider has immediately overview of which spectra, also the data type that he or she has uploaded. So this is provide an holistic view on all the data that have been uploaded for publication. And okay, so this is I like to advertise that ESO themselves has initiated the publication of product. These are through the data streams. And here are outlined the most recent data stream that are published since 2020. So these are the instrument mode that are well understood, robust, and are supported by scientific grade pipeline. And during the standard QC flow, they have certified calibration, and therefore that can be pipeline reduced. All the reduced product are published through phase 3 in data streams. And in this data stream, there is a logic that check for the access right. And the PI and his or her delegate can access reduced product during the validity of the access right. And once the raw file become visible to the public, all the product become visible also for the archive community to download and do science with it. And in this slide, you see all the data streams that are up and running, and they are constantly fed as soon as new data come in with products that are certified and well described. All these data streams are supported by the release description document that provide information on the pipeline, on the criteria, and on the parameters that are used for the unsupervised pipeline reduction. Now, I'm quickly going through my last slide, also in order to be able to participate to the media event. So what's the opportunity? What is the buy-in to engage in phase 3? The first point is the high visibility of the published data in the ESO archive, because they're easy to browse, easy to download. Also, the data releases are advertised in the ESO Science newsletter. They are also advertised in the Archive Science main page. And the data provider can benefit from increased citation via the release description and the data used themselves. Last but not least, as of today, ESO is minting DOI, so digital object identifier for data collection. So it is possible for the data provider to have this additional DOI, which is related to the collection that they use for publishing the data product. Now, phase 3 ensure the long-term preservation of the data, which is not trivial, and increase also the awareness on the data structure, the metadata information. It's also important to establish interface standard, because these interface standards apply to different instruments, as you see, from spectra to images to interferometry. And also it allows the cross-match with other releases. As any of the archive user has experienced through the Archive Science portal, it's possible to overlay LACIA parallel data with ALMA data and have a multi-wavelength search through the archive. Last but not least, phase 3 ensure the reuse of science data by building trust in how the data are certified, and also enhance their browsing, discoverability, and legacy value. Because the data format and metadata is known, it's possible to build up complex interface that allows much more efficient discoverability. And here you see the DOI webpage, which has become available as of today, where there are pages dedicated to the collection where the data product have been published through the provider. And this is a very valuable interface that allowed further discoverability and usage of the data and the scientific reuse. And so I will, this is the end of my talk. I will say that if you really would, if I manage to interest you in having your data published in the ESO archive, don't be shy, come to talk to us, and I'll be very happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Magda, for that very nice overview of phase 3 and all the possibilities. People can ask questions in Slack. And we will soon come back. In about 20 minutes from now, we will start the next talk, and you will have some time to watch the press conference. See you later.